Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of November 14th, 2024. My name is Vern Crowe and I'm the chairperson of the commission. The Planning Commission is a citizen body appointed by the City Council. The commission is empowered to make final decisions on certain matters, with those being appealable to the City Council. On other matters, the commission acts in an advisory role to the council, with the council making the final decision. You will have an opportunity to address the commission during the public hearing portion of the meeting. Your testimony is appreciated and encouraged. The commission acts from a written agenda, so you will need to fill out a yellow speaker card and give it to the city staff if you wish to speak on an item. Copies of the agenda and the speaker cards are located on the table just inside the main door to these chambers. At this time, please be sure to silence your cell phones. There are 7 members appointed to the Planning Commission at this time, and I will ask the commissioners to introduce themselves and state the district they are representing, starting from my far right, Commissioner Crowe.
John Crowe, Mayoral District.
Edwin Nyberg, Choya District.
Martin Novakowski, Yucca District.
John Gears, Ocotillo District.
Brian Hooper, Saguaro District.
And I'm Vern Crowe, representing Cactus. Let the record show that the commissioner for the Beryl District, Commissioner Cole, is in an excused absence this evening. The Planning Commission receives staff assistance and guidance from the Planning Division and the City Attorney's Office. Now on to the approval of the minutes, which I would like to make a motion that we postpone the approval of these minutes and do it at our next meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Ms. Perry, are there any withdrawals or continuances this evening?
Good evening, Chairperson Crowe and Commissioners. There are none.
Thank you. The purpose of the public hearing is to provide interested parties an opportunity to present testimony to the Commission's consideration. We will follow the same procedures for each item. I will call the application number and the name of the applicant. Staff will present their report and answer questions from the commissioners. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation and answer questions from the commissioners as well. Other persons who wish to testify will be asked to do so and answer questions from the commission. The applicant will have an opportunity for closing comments. Staff will be asked for final comments and the application and procedural guidance. I will then close the public hearing and ask for a motion prior to further discussion, if any, from the commissioners. If you wish to speak on an item, you will need to state your name and address for the record. Please be brief and to the point and avoid repetition. I reserve the right to limit the length of your testimony. All exhibits shown to the commission become part of the permanent record and must be submitted for the file. Large groups should designate a spokesperson, which doesn't look like we're going to have that problem. Applause or other disruptions which delay the hearing will not be tolerated. We have 2 public hearing items this evening. Our next agenda item, or first agenda item, is CUP 24-05. Ms. Torella, will you present the case?
Good evening, Chairperson Crowe and Commissioners. This is the conditional use permit case for Easy Bocce. This is a request for a conditional use permit for a drive-through restaurant in the C2 zoning district. This vicinity map shows the location of the property as associated with City Hall. The property is located at the northwest corner of 51st Avenue and Northern, and is approximately 2 miles northeast of City Hall. This zoning map shows that the subject property, Zone C2, is surrounded to the north, west, and east by other C2 properties within the Northern Lights Shopping Center, and across Northern is a PAD, which is the Manistee Ranch PAD. This aerial map shows that Northern Lights Shopping Center that I previously referred to, which is a mix of retail and restaurants currently. Across Northern in the Manatee Ranch PAD is the commercial portion of that area. This site is 0.17 acres, and as I had said, has been existing in the shopping center since the development of this site since the 1970s. It was most recently used as a veterinarian hospital, but did not utilize the drive-through function. Within the UDC, there is an option for an applicant to submit a queuing memorandum. Reason I'm bringing this up is that the applicant has submitted that because there is an option for an applicant to state the queuing that is required specifically for their end user at this specific site. And I will go into more details of what the queuing memorandum entails for this project specifically later on. Currently, the site is not landscaped, on-site, or adjacent along Northern Avenue, and the applicant is proposing to landscape both of those areas. The parking stalls, both ADA accessible and standard stalls, will be brought into compliance with the city standards. All of the public notification requirements were met for this application, and neither staff nor the applicant received any responses. Here is a conceptual site plan which shows the queuing that I had mentioned. So the UDC requires a minimum of 12. However, the queuing memorandum that was reviewed by staff, which includes planning and transportation, approved this configuration for this specific site for this specific use. As you can see, the queuing is separated from the drive aisle to the north by new curbing, and the landscape island inside of the queue, which is existing, has been expanded to expand the landscaped area on site as well. The parking stalls that you see south of the queue are going to be restriped to allow for a two-way approach to the restaurant, and the walkway to the east is going to be restriped as well to provide access to the restaurant and the shopping center as a whole. Here are the conceptual elevations, which are in line with the rest of the shopping center, but provide some brand uniqueness as well. The use is consistent with the established commercial corridors on 51st Avenue and on Northern Avenue, and the application furthers the intent of the general plan for independent commercial uses to function within a larger commercial development. The site was originally built to support a drive-through, as the canopy was one of the original items included on the building. So it can be inferred that this drive-through use was anticipated for this shopping center. So the drive-through restaurant is therefore in line with the operations of the center and will complement the other commercial uses already there. The site itself is restrictive in that the property lines are bounding the building alone. However, the shopping center functions overall, and the queue that is proposed will not impact that functionality or the operations of the shopping center at all. The queuing memo that I had referred to previously was approved to provide a queuing of 7 cars for this user, which will be, which is appropriate for the proposed use. As I had previously mentioned as well, the parking stalls are going to be restriped to include the standard and the ADA parking, and the new curbing as well will provide additional, compliance with the codes of the Transportation Department and also the UDC. And I will detail the conditions which have been placed on this application in the next slides. Staff recommends Planning Commission approval of CUP 2405, subject to the following stipulations. Stipulation 1, development shall be in substantial conformance with the site plan, date stamped October 2nd, 2024, and the project narrative, date stamped October 2nd, 2024, subject to design review approval by the Development Services Department, Planning Division. And stipulation number 2, drive-through queuing shall be in substantial conformance with the queuing memorandum, date stamped October 2nd, 2024, subject to design review approval by the Development Services Department, Planning Division. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Chairman,
Commissioner Gears?
I just have you're talking about striping. Is that just part of the applicant's procedure? It's not in your recommendations, it's not in any stipulations. So that's just some standard thing that they always do?
Commissioner, it is not standard. However, the parking stalls are currently striped to be angular, and to support a queue here, the Transportation Department and Planning Division felt that restriping them to be perpendicular stalls would provide for easier access in and out of the site and provide a two-way approach coming up to it. So
Okay.
no, it's not standard, but it was a solution that staff worked with the applicant to arrive at.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, would the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your presentation?
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Member and Commissioners. My name is Jason Sangs. I'm a land use planner with iPlan Consulting, 3317 South Higley Road in Gilbert. Thank you for your time this evening, and I thank staff for their thorough presentation. They did present the CUP, and in direct response to the question about the striping for the Commissioner, you know, as usual, there's a companion site plan and design review case that's being processed by staff administratively, kind of in the shadow of this, and they'll also be tying any prospective approvals to the striping that they recommended that we provided to have the 90-degree parking rather than the angled parking. But we're excited to see that this underutilized former drive-through restaurant will be reinvigorated with Easy Bachi. They're kind of a teppanyaki style food that they're bringing to Glendale. They're spreading in the valley. And that queuing memorandum is based on our operations in other locations throughout the valley based on their peak hours of operation, neither of which conflict with the morning or late afternoon rush hour. And if you look at the site plan and you notice as the queuing, I don't have the site plan up, we don't need to click around, but if you look in your packets, you'll see that the queuing lane comes out to the west. Then there's almost a couple hundred additional kind of feet in reserve. I mean, we would love to be busy enough to have a more than 7-car stack. But you know, with mobile pickup orders and in restaurant dining, we don't assume to be that busy. It's not like a Dutch Brothers. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have. Again, we're excited to bring Easy Bachi to Glendale.
Commissioners?
Jaron,
Commissioner Gears?
it says that it's a dine-in also. How many seats are for dining in?
Oh, thank you, through the chair. Commissioner, I'm not certain of the floor plan just yet. I know that they're excited to prepare their tenant improvements and construction drawings, but I don't know that they've got those finalized yet. They were waiting to see how tonight went. I'm not certain the proportion of the business, but they'll offer both.
Okay.
They're just going to use the existing floor plan, but they have to do a lot of kitchen enhancements for the teppanyaki.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I do not have any speaker cards for this particular item. Are there any members in the audience that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none. The public hearing for case number CUP-05 is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Chair?
Mr. Hooper?
I'll motion. I move to approve CUP 2405 per the findings subject to the stipulations contained in the staff report.
Do I hear a second?
Support.
Are there any further comments from the commissioners regarding CUP 24-05? Okay, no further discussion. I have a motion and a second to approve case number CUP 24-05, subject to the stipulations as outlined by staff. I will now conduct a roll call vote. Commissioner Crowe?
Aye.
Commissioner Nyberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski,
Aye.
Commissioner Gears,
Aye.
Commissioner Hooper.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. CUP 24-05 has been recommended for approval, subject to stipulations as outlined by staff. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps?
Chair and Commission, your action with respect to case number CUP 24-05 is final, subject to a written appeal received within 15 days.
Thank you. Okay, our next agenda item is case ZTA 24-03. Mr. Ella will present the case.
Chair and Commissioners, this is the presentation for the text amendment to revise the accessory use conditions for accessory dwelling units in the UDC. This text amendment was prompted by House Bill 2720 being signed earlier this year, and this is the response to bring the UDC into conformance with that bill. Currently, within the UDC, ADUs are permitted on lots which are at least 8,000 square feet. They're limited to 50% of the primary residence square footage under roof, and the setbacks that are applied are determined by the maximum height, which is standard for all accessory structures or buildings on these lots. As an overview of the text amendment on a higher level, the changes that are proposed would permit one single-family residential lot to have one detached ADU and one attached ADU. For larger lots that are over an acre, they can have an additional third ADU as long as that is deed restricted. The ADU is limited to the square footage of the primary residence, but cannot exceed 1,000 square feet. And the setbacks applied to this would be a minimum of 5 feet from the rear and side property lines. All of the public notification requirements were met for this, and no responses were received during the comment period provided. However, after this time, 2 questions were received. One was regarding just general questions about the text amendment itself, and the other question was regarding the language about renting out the ADU. This amendment provides for development opportunities for a wide variety of properties and property owners. And given that property is large enough to support that additional third ADU, they will be required to deed restrict that unit. The public health and safety of the city will be furthered, and that sound growth management is supported through the requirement of assigning addresses to the ADUs with the installation of their associated utilities. And with that, staff recommends Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval for ZTA 2403 as written. And that concludes my presentation, and I'll take any questions.
Commissioners? Commissioner Crowe?
Sure. Can you just clarify this deed restriction for us as it pertains to this? The deed restriction shall be recorded to the owner a lot thereby property records for a minimum period of 30 years. I'm not really sure I understand what you guys are doing there.
Chairperson Crowe, Commissioners, that language came straight from the bill itself, but in essence, what it's basically declaring that if you were to opt to have that third ADU, is that we want it to be recorded on the deed with Maricopa County, that basically says that you're committed to utilizing that ADU for 30 days for restricted income levels.
Okay, so you're stipulating that it has to be used for affordable as a rental unit.
Through the chair, that is correct if you opt to have the additional ADU for an acre or more.
Okay.
Commissioners? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any speaker cards for this item either. Are there any members in the audience that would like to speak? Well, the public hearing for case number ZTA 24-03 is now closed. Gentlemen, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chair Nyberg?
I would move approval of ZTA 24-03 as presented, written.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve case number ZTA 24-03 as written. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, gentlemen, I will now conduct a roll call vote. Commissioner Crowe?
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Gears?
Aye.
Commissioner Hooper?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Case number ZTA 24-03 has been recommended for approval as written. Mr. Gruber?
Chair and Commission, your recommendation for approval of ZTA 24-03 is not final, but the recommendation will be forwarded to the City Council.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Okay, now we'll move on to other business, and that is the recommendation on just a consensus for the chair and vice chair. Do we have a nomination?
Chair, for the chair position, I nominate Vern Crow.
Support.
Any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Recommendation and consensus for vice chair.
Chair.
Commissioner Crowe.
For vice chair, I nominate Ed Nyberg.
Support.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second for Vice Chair Nyberg to remain as Vice Chair Nyberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. Now, we need to have a motion and the vote on the public hearing calendar. Did everyone get one of those?
Yeah.
Does anybody need one? Okay, I'll entertain. Do we need a motion on that, Mr. Gruber, for our calendar? Or do we just agree on it?
Chair and Commission, the agenda states that there would be a motion, so I think that that would be appropriate.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Vice Chair Nyberg? Oh, Commissioner Gears?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the scheduled 2025 as written.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the public hearing calendar for 2025 as written. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Ms. Perry, are there any planning staff reports?
Chairperson Crowe, Commissioner, there are none.
Commissioners, anything in regards to future items or anything you want to say? Wow, this was got to be a record meeting here. Okay, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Okay, there is none, so the next regular meeting of the Planning Commission will be held on December 12th at 6 p.m. here at the Civic Center. If there's no further business, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Thanksgiving is the forgotten holiday now, man. It's like, it's out of fashion. You go straight Halloween to Christmas.